Welcome to the KX Country Clubhouse. My name is Mikey from KX 94.7, and today it is my absolute privilege to welcome Keith Urban to the Clubhouse. Keith, how are you, my
Anyway,
friend?
Mike, good to see you, man. Really good to see you.
Nature is slowly but surely healing. We're slowly but surely getting back to normal. You're doing okay?
My relationship to this reality is always changing. I've gone through everything from accepting it to hating it to being frustrated by it to being inspired by it to being completely saddened and depressed by it to being everything and then forgetting about it and then back into it, and it's just been a roller coaster. So I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but that's kind of where it's been.
Oh, I think a lot more people can relate to it than you think. The last time we saw you, you were co-hosting the ACMs. Heck of a job, by the way.
Thank you. I can't wait till we have an actual audience in there, though. It's a very different feeling playing to a bunch of empty seats.
What's the process like for you when preparing for an event like that? Are there any similarities to when you're preparing for a show on tour?
No, because it's obviously it's scripted, so there's a sort of a sense of getting the flow of everything, but also being able to be in the moment as well. Um, but I think when I signed up to do it, it was going to be in Las Vegas in April of 2020. That was meant to be our very first show together, and of course that got moved to September of 2020, and then it got moved to Nashville, and there was no audience, and everything started to be very, very different. But having done it that first time in 2020, I was really grateful. First of all, that the ACMs went ahead; they figured out a way to do it, and that now they were able to get it back on track this season and put it back into April. And of course, doing it in Nashville was turned out to be a blessing because we could do it in multiple venues. Take advantage of
Mm.
so many great places in Nashville, not just the Opry House, but of course Ryman Auditorium and Bluebird Cafe and down by the river, and Broadway got hit, and it was just we were kind of everywhere. So it was a great opportunity to remind people of how fun Nashville is as well.
Congrats on One Too Many recently going number one here north of the
Thanks,
border.
Maggie. Thank you.
Pink was always the end game for that song, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to sing with her, so it's just a case of hoping one day to find a song that I think would suit her. And I said, the crazy part is I didn't really know her that well, but I managed to get a hold of her and said, I have this song. Do you want to hear it? Sent it to her, and she said, "Oh, I love this song. Yeah, I'll definitely want to sing this." And this was February, March of 2020. You can see where that story is going. And then all of a sudden, everything went quiet. I'd already put my vocal on the song. The song was finished. It just needed the crown jewel of Pink to sing on it, and it was done. And uh, February, March came and went. April came, May, June, and I watched these months rolling by, just thinking, "Oh my gosh, I hope she still wants to do this song," And somewhere around June, July, she got her vocal on the song finally, and it was just when the first time I heard it, I couldn't believe it. She's born to
Oh,
sing
the
it.
song is incredible. And after hearing the song for the last few months, there's no other voice that you can hear on that song alongside yours than Pink's.
Yeah, thank you. I hope we get to do other things in the future because I love singing with her.
Yeah, we hope so too. So I'm going to throw a number out at you 27, as in 27 number ones in Canada. What does that number mean to you?
That's insane. That's it's and this is Canada too, but I gotta give massive props to Canada across the board because the amount of those number ones that happened, not only first in Canada, and it's the same with One Too Many, first country in the world for One Too Many to go number one, but there's been songs that have only gone number one for me in Canada. So whatever's going on between me and you guys, I am very grateful, and we'll always keep coming and touring.
We love you, man. Over 2 decades of hits. Do you remember where you were and what it felt like the first time you heard one of your songs on the radio?
Yeah, it was in Australia, It was 1991, I think, somewhere around there. Uh, I won this talent quest in 1990, and the main prize was you got to record a single for EMI Records, and I'd written a couple of songs, so I went in and recorded these two songs, and I was playing a gig in a very small town and staying at a motel. And before the show, I was getting ready in my little motel, my crappy motel room, and they have one of those little clock radios, that's bolted to the side table so you don't steal it. And it's tuned to the local country station, and my song came on. And that's the very first time I heard me coming out of a speaker of a radio ever. It was surreal.
So from your first single to one of your first gigs, you got to tell us about this airport baggage claim show that you played.
Yeah, woo, rock and roll. Yeah, so it was in a town called Tamworth. Oddly enough, the first town I heard that was the town I was in when I heard my first song all those years before
Oh,
that.
cool.
But they'd opened a regional airport, had one baggage carousel, and somehow we ended up getting a gig playing at this airport. And I had a three-piece band at the time called the Ranch, and so we got to the airport sort of lunchtime. It was a daytime gig, and they set us up on that little strip of carpet. Where the conveyor belt thing goes around. There's usually a little raised
Hmm.
piece of carpet right above it. So on that little island, right there is where that was our stage. So we set a tiny little bass drum and snare drum there. Bass player and me had wireless guitar and bass, and we had a mic stand. And up we we got the airport manager. We tested the gear, and it sounded fine. And so I said to the airport manager who was standing there, I go, when do we start? He goes, start now. I was like, there's nobody here. He goes, oh, they'll drift over. And I'm like, okay. So we start playing. Sure enough, guy comes over, and then another couple of people come over, and then a few more people, and they're all smiling and saying, I'm like, this they're not bad. It's a pretty good gig. And then we had about 8, 9, 10 people. And I was like, this is pretty happening. And we're halfway through the song. Next minute, all these bags start coming out. They were just there to get, they all got their bags sort of waved, and off they went with their luggage. And there was, by the end of that conveyor belt session, there was nobody there by the end of the song. Um, so I just jumped on the conveyor belt on my wireless guitar and went for a ride around the thing, because we just thought it was the worst gig we'd ever done in our lives.
Well, I guess before you play the stadiums and the arenas, you got to play the baggage claim, right?
Got to play the baggage claim, yeah. And I still to this day, if I'm at a baggage claim and I see that little strip of carpet, I chuckle a little bit. I'm like, play there.
I posted on Twitter earlier today that I was getting to talk to you, and one of your fans tweeted in a question. This one from LibbyJet1223. She wants to know if there's any thought, or if you had any thought about doing a weekly or a monthly podcast for your fans.
Oh, that would be fun. A podcast, that would be unusual, wouldn't it? Everybody's got podcast. I would like to do some kind of podcast. I really would. Particularly interviewing other people, because I'm very fascinated by all kinds of people in different walks of life for different reasons. So, um, yeah, at some point, some kind of thing, I think we would get going. I love the opportunity to be able to talk to our audience, um,
Mhm.
especially in those one-on-one capacities too, because I'm always interested in uh, everything really. Like, particularly when people come to the shows, where did you come from? Tell me a bit about what was happening before you came to the gig, and all that sort of stuff. I'm fascinated by all of that.
Excellent. And I know you're a busy guy, so we're going to send you out on this fun one. You've got one of the best jobs in the world. But if you were forced to switch jobs with the main character of the last TV show or movie you watched, what's your new gig?
Oh my gosh, that is one of the most colorful questions I've ever had come at me, Mikey. Let me think here. So, based on whatever the last movie that I watched,
Movie or TV show?
Right. Well, apparently I would be down on my luck, living with my family in a flea-bitten motel room in Schitt's Creek. That's where I'd be. I'd be Johnny Rose.
And we're going to send you out on that one, Keith Urban. It's always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for taking your time out of the day. And here's hoping that the next time we can do this, it's in person, preferably at a live show in KX country.
Me too, Mike. It's so good to talk to you, brother.